Hey friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel, The Zone of Anatomy. Today we are going to discuss about descending tracts, and it is the continuation of a series that is neurophysiology. So we have already posted ascending tract of the spinal cord. Go watch that video. The link is in the description box. We have discussed about the neuromuscular junction, the synapses. We have discussed about brain, the central nervous system. So just go to that series first, then come to this series, then only you get 100% output. So before starting this series, let me guide you how to study about it. Just open your Indian textbook besides you, and whatever I'm seeing, just try to read from there. You will get a better idea, better picture, and it is like crystal clear to you. Moving forward, what is a descending tract? Descending tract is basically the motor nerve fibers that are coming from our brain to the spinal cord. Since we are talking about descending, it means it is coming from up to downwards, whereas the ascending goes from down to upwards. So the descending tract is divided into three parts, that is pyramidal tract, which is located in the medulla oblongata, corticobulbar tract, extrapyramidal tract. Since we are not encyclopedias, right? So we need to remember only the important portions from our exam point of view. That is, we need to study about the pyramidal tract, which is very much important, and its pathway, and the names of the extrapyramidal tract and its pathway. So these two pathways are more important. So let's proceed further. Coming to the pyramidal tract is divided basically into two parts, that is lateral corticospinal tract and anterior corticospinal tract. Lateral corticospinal tract crosses 80%, that is, it is the majority, and anterior corticospinal tract, which are uncrossed, it is 20%, that is in a minority. So MCQ can come, lateral corticospinal tract is also cross tract. So it is one MCQ. Then another name for anterior corticospinal tract is uncrossed. Another MCQ. Guys, just note these things. The examiner do not directly ask you about lateral corticospinal tract. He or she directly put it cross pyramidal tract comprises of how much percent. So it might get confused. So remember these another names also. So let's see what this pyramidal corticospinal tract is all about. First point you need to remember, it is the longest tract. Why it is the longest tract? Because it is starting from our cerebral cortex and from passing towards the medulla, it moves in the spinal cord. So we say it is the longest tract starting from our cerebral cortex to the last segment of the spinal cord. Since it is going through the last segment, it is known as the longest tract. So one MCQ, it is the longest pyramidal tract. Coming to another part, that is the distribution of its fibers. So we have divided the fibers into three parts. That is, one third of the fibers originate from our primary motor area, that is area number 4. Another one third secondary, coming from our secondary motor fibers, and one third come from our somatostatic area, that is area number 314. So you need to remember these area, what are somatostatic area, what is premotor area, and what is primary motor area. All three areas contribute about one third fibers of this. Coming to its course is very easy. First we have here the cortex. So our fibers coming from here, you can see these red one. These are our motor cortex part. So the fibers originate from the motor cortex. Then it passes downwards, that is our corona radiata part. Then it moves from the internal capsule. Here you are seeing internal capsule pass, which is in the posterior limb. Then it goes in our midbrain. This portion you see midbrain, that is almost, then moving forward to the pons, and then medulla. In medulla, I say there is a pyramidal, you see, then there is the pyramidal decussation, that is the crossing, and then we are 80% fibers and 20% fibers concept come over here. So let's see what is this concept is all about. So about its course. Like in the previous slide, we have discussed that 80% is concerned with our lateral corticospinal tract, that and 20% by our anterior one. So here there is the pyramidal decussation. Now what happened? The 80% fibers crosses here. You see this midline. So this 80% fibers crosses the midline in the pyramid and form the lateral corticospinal tract. See, then it passes through an internal column of the spinal cord, you see over here, and then it enters in this horn, that is anterior horn cell, either directly or through interneurons. You can see over here there is interneurons also, so it can be or go directly or through indirectly, that is through interneurons. So this is the path of 80% of our fibers. Another part, that is anterior corticospinal tract. So these the till here, that is till the medulla, till pyramid of the medulla, these 20% fibers do not crosses. You see that here it crosses, but these 20%, what is coming over here, they do not crosses. These fibers crosses, that is lateral spinal corticospinal tract, whereas these direct coming fibers do not crosses, and it comes direct in the mid, and it crosses the midline. See, it crosses our midline and forms our anterior corticospinal tract. It is mentioned over it. This one is anterior corticospinal tract, and then it crosses our midline and it ends in the opposite anterior horn. So it ends over here, that is anterior posterior horn. So we come to know that 80% fibers crosses and 20% do not crosses. The fibers which not crosses is anterior corticospinal tract, and which crosses is lateral corticospinal tract. This is all you need to know about this part. So this is the complete picture which I've mentioned. That is, first the fibers go from coming from motor cortex, that is from our cerebral part, that is from a brain part, then it goes to corona radiata, then internal capsule, then midbrain, then pons and medulla. After that, 80% crosses lateral corticospinal tract, and the fibers which do not, that is 20%, it known as anterior corticospinal tract. So this codes you need to remember by heart. Moving forward, whatever the extra information which we need to know. First, I have mentioned that it is the longest tract, MCQ. It starts in the cerebral cortex and in the spinal cord, MCQ. Its function is concerned with our voluntary movements. It forms our upper motor neuron. When we see the series of a neuron, we'll come to know what are upper motor neuron and what is lower motor neuron. Till now, you need to know what is the pyramidal tracts form upper motor neuron, and it forms the superficial reflexes. We have already discussed what are the reflexes, what are the superficial reflexes, where we see one disease that is known as the disorder, that is Babinski's sign. So first go and see that lecture, reflexes, then only you come to know about this. Then we see the lesion. If we have a pyramidal deficit, then we have the loss of voluntary movement, because we say it is concerned with the voluntary movement, especially in the distal ends of the limb. So it is loss of that. Then it is a muscle tone. Muscle tone increases by the pattern, which is known as the released formula. Okay. Then another is Babinski's reflexes. If the lesion is present and there is the problem in the reflexes, that is superficial reflexes are absent, deep reflexes are exaggerated. Babinski's sign shows positive, that if you remember in the reflex series, I mentioned that it forms something finger like a fan like projection by the toe. So it gets a positive, and knee and ankle clonces are present over here. So you need to know these before that see reflex video, then only you come to know about these. Then we have a pure pyramidal lesion. What is that? It causes our flaccid paralysis. So the flaccid paralysis is concerned with our pyramidal tract. So what is the flaccid paralysis? It is basically the paralysis of the small muscles, in which there is incapacity and disability of the muscles are present more. So moving forward, the cells concerning with the pyramidal tract are the giant cell or the bed cells. You need to know the names of these cells only. So this is the important MCQs which might come randomly in your Viva or in the exam. also. So just go through it very thoroughly, the complete slide. Then the myelination of it starts at the birth and at the third year. More of the discharge of impulse, if you see the neuromuscular junction, you come to know what are the impulses and how it is discharges. So the discharge is not directly, so it is not polysynaptic. If you see our reflex video, you come to know what is polysynaptic pathway, that it has a how much of synaptic synaptic junctions and the neurons. First see that video. Then its muscular activity, it responds to fine non-posture isolated modified movements of the small muscles at the distal joint. Important point to remember, pyramidal tract is concerned with that distal point or distal end and concerned with that voluntary movement as well as upper motor neuron part. Upper limb shows pyramidal control and rate of conduction is slow. So corticospinal tract is concerned with our upper limb basically, and its conduction is slow. Then control dorsal half of the spinal cord, and it regulates flexor muscles. So another point to remember that it is concerned with our flexor muscles also. Its sign and symptoms of the pyramidal lesion is very power is poor, weak. Upper extremities are extensor weaker, whereas lower extremities are flexor weaker. MCQ, remember this. Whereas when we talk about extrapyramidal tract, these all thing gets opposite over it. So first you need to know where the extensors are weaker, that is our upper extremities, and flexor weaker in the lower extremity when we talk about pyramidal or corticospinal tract. Then the coordination is reduced by the weakness. We say that the weakness is present over here. Plantar response is extensors and the tone is spastic, and it is basically increased in the regular interval of time. Moving forward, the extrapyramidal tract. So the extrapyramidal tract is one of the old motor system, or it is developed earlier and it starts before the birth. So it is one of the most important tract. The type here I have mentioned is RUBROSPINAL, Reticulospinal, Tecto, Olivo, Vestibulo, and descending autonomic fibers. But among these three five are important. So moving forward to its pathways of each and every. So when we talk about our rubrospinal, one thing in mind we need to remember is this. Rubro started with R, so it is concerned with the red nucleus. Red nucleus is present in our midbrain. So red nucleus, then our pathway go to our, so in the midbrain we have a red nucleus. From there our fibers goes to the pons, then passing to the medulla, and then finally ends over here, that is in the interneurons, that is indirectly in the spinal cord. So this is the tract of the rubro tract. The only thing you need to remember is that it is present from the red nucleus. Red nucleus is present in our midbrain. Another is tectospinal. What is tectospinal? It started with a superior colliculus that is present here in the midbrain. Then it goes from pons to medulla, and then ultimately it ends indirectly in the interneurons in the spinal cord. You see the tracks from pons till the end is same. Only the position in the midbrain is different. So for rubro it is red nucleus. For tecto it is superior collicular. Moving forward, another is reticulo. So for reticulo, we have the reticular formations which is taking place in our midbrain. So here we have our midbrain and the reticular formation takes place over here. Then again, these goes from our pons, then passes over the medulla and terminates finally over here, that is interneurons of the spinal cord. Another one is OLIVOSPINAL tract. It is very easy. It is started with our olivary nucleus, inferior olivary nucleus, which is you are seeing over here, and then it descends into this anterior horn cells. So this one is the shortest one. As you see, it is started with our olivary nucleus part. I hope this is clear to just only remember from where each and every extramedullary tract is starting, and rest from pons, it is the similar one. Then we have our vestibule. Vestibule started with the, as the name suggests, vestibular nuclei. Here you see vestibular nuclei is present over here. So the pathway which is going, it is known as the vestibular. Red nucleus is present here. To the pathway from the red nucleus is our RUBROSPINAL. Then we have our olivary. The pathway for the olivary is OLIVOSPINAL. So you just need to know where the nuclei are present, and it makes you easy to understand the tracks. This is the complete picture what I've explained you in the previous slide by slide, that the vestibulospinal tract, as the name said, it started with the vestibular nuclei and it ends in the interneurons of the spinal cord. Olivonuclei, as the name suggests, it started in the inferior olivary nuclei and in the interior horn cell. Reticulo, as the name suggests, reticular formation in midbrain, then pons, then medulla ends in interneurons in spinal cord. Tectospinal, superior collicular in midbrain, pons, medulla ends in interneurons in the spinal cord. Rubro started with a red nucleus and similar pathway goes on. So just remember this slide and you are master in the tracks. Extrapyramidal tract, the things you need to remember is that it developed earlier, as I mentioned. It is old motor system. Its myelination start before birth. Its mode of discharge of the impulse of the lower motor neuron is polysynaptic, whereas in a pyramidal tract, it is not. It is not polysynaptic, whereas here you see it is polysynaptic. Nature of muscular activity. It is responsible for basically our gross postural movements, which is affecting our large muscles, whereas there it is affecting our, when we talk about pyramidal part, it is affecting our small muscles. Coming to our effects of damage, it produces spastic paralysis, which is basically due to a release phenomena, and it produces incapability and disability are less or rare, whereas in the pyramidal it is more. Rate of conduction is fast, in pyramidal it is slow. Lower limb shows most extrapyramidal control, whereas in pyramidal part the upper limb shows most control. Control ventral half of the spinal cord, whereas in pyramidal it is controlling our dorsal half. Here it regulates our extensor muscle, and there it regulates our what muscles? That is flexor muscle. We are done with this. Now coming to the activities is concerning with it. Activities basically concerned with, tone, posture, equilibrium, and setting up basically the stages in which the completion with the previous comes through the pyramidal track. So extrapyramidal track is concerned with that equilibrium part, whereas the pyramidal track is concerned in finalizing the work. Its tone is rigid, its power is no weaknesses, whereas in the pyramidal it shows weaknesses. Okay. Coming to its function, as I already told you, it controls autonomic movements, control visual activities. Then we come to, it is responsible for posture adjustment and maintains equilibrium, and it exerts regulatory influence over reflex activity. So guys, in this you just remember the names of the extrapyramidal tract, the course of it, and nothing more much to memorize, whereas in our pyramidal tract you just need to know the codes of lateral and anterior corticospinal tract, and it is easy for you to understand the descending pathway. Another thing you need to remember over this is the difference between extrapyramidal tract and pyramidal tracts, and that is one of the major parts. After completing this lecture, make sure you read your textbook once, then only you come to know these tracts in details. I have covered major portion in this. Whatever is important, I have already explained you in this slides. So this is the recap, whatever we have learned in the ascending track. For that, we have a separate video. Go and study over there. And the descending track, which we see today, entire track in details. So memorize this diagram, it is easier for you. So guys, that is all from my side on this topic, that is descending tracts of spinal cord. If you like the content, do like, share, press the bell icon so that whenever I post the video, you get the notification, and yes, subscribe and support our channel. So till then, just study well, go through the topics, go to the important points which I'm mentioning over it. It will be very beneficial in your examination. Put your reviews, give your valuable reviews in the comment section so that I can make my videos more powerful. Till then, take care and bye.